Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As we mentioned earlier in the beginning of this edition of the Breakfast Show, we'll be talking about a very important topic. The presidential initiative to develop 1,000 villages across the country is only a step in the long path to develop all the Egyptian villages. The project is a dream that will actually take Egypt into another place and will achieve development. It is part of Egypt's sustainable development goals. In order to know more about this huge project, we're very much delighted to have with us here in the studio Engineer Mostafa Wali, former Vice President of the Federation of Industries. Good morning to you, Mr. Mostafa.
Good morning, thank you. But just a little bit correction. I was the general manager of the Federation.
General manager of the Federation,
yes.
okay. Sir, would you like to shed light on the importance of the presidential initiative to develop 1,000 villages?
Yes. First of all, this initiative, which soon will be materialized, which soon will be a landmark in our modern Egyptian history. It is not just big words. It's the fact on the ground when things will develop and we will see it ourselves. We are talking about developing from sometimes very, very bad situation of 57% of the Egyptian population, which our brothers, our families in the rural areas all over Egypt. The initiative itself, in itself, shows how much the leadership of this country is so keen, so devoted to develop Egypt. Because the real development should first come from this area. And the consequences and what they call domino effect of the progress and the success of such a project will be fantastic. There are some countries who have been through this and it worked out and it showed that it was very important for them. That's actually my understanding in a nutshell concerning this project. The details are really magnificent and the details are very challenging, but yes, together we can.
And sir, how do you see the steps taken so far in this project?
Well, we are in the initial stage. The most important thing that when it was disclosed through the president's speech and when he's announcing this and then the follow-up, you know, just recently anyway, to take its shape as a national project. It is now a national project. So with everybody is entangled, and the most important thing that the president himself was emphasizing the importance of that. It's the share and the importance of participation of all the Egyptian people in this project.
So, and that's what makes it a national project.
And it's a unique in the effect. And if you look at the figures is very impressive. The first figure actually for those to be developed, the areas to be developed, is 1,500 actually. You said 1,000. But anyway, it was announced 1,500. It will be prioritized anyway. And the fund for this phase is $500 billion. It's more than 515 billion Egyptian pounds. So that's, look at this figure.
And since you are a pioneer in the field of industry, how do you see the role of industry in this project?
Oh my. It's not the role, it's, you say, you are giving a very strong hand to pull the whole Egyptian industries. I mean it actually, the whole, when I say the whole. Because the projects which can actually rely and make use of existing industries, local industries, it's construction at large, especially when it comes to urban communities, of developing communities. Because you look at the activities of daily life of the people, it will entail everything has to do with the manufactured products of the industry at large. Without getting into detail, just let's have three main things, you know: water, health, energy. So, and every part of this, every aspect of this, you know, can be divided into hundreds of industries, and all will be needed and will be important to make this project a success story, an Egyptian success story.
And how would that reflect on providing job opportunities and upgrading the lives of the people, especially the people of the area?
Yeah. If we look at it as a process, then it starts with the industry, you know. Then you see that the full mobilization of certain industries, especially needed for this project, the infrastructure when it comes road, housing, utilities, energy, water treatment, and so on and so on. Every part or every sector of these industries will be in a very, let's say, it will actually act as, you know, with new input, with new push for production. When you say production, it means that employment immediately
Yes.
in the industry. That's answering your question.
Yes. And sir, how important is it to locally install the industries and transfer the technology through international companies operating in the project?
It is a fact now all over the world. I mean, even for those countries who have been passing through our situation before, that, okay, the international coordination, the international, you know, exchange of expertise and exchange of knowledge when it comes to very specific industries, for example, it works and it yields so that it goes by time until it is indigenous. And there's a lot of stories like this. If you look at the automotive industries as an example, you know, so it was in the West, in America and in Europe, but you see after that it was Asia was very prominent, and you know they have now their print on the automotive industry and many other things like this. I'm just giving you an example, historic one, yes.
Yes. The economic impact of developing Egyptian villages is not just providing job opportunities, but rather investment. So many companies are going to invest in the project, especially foreign companies. So how do you see the economic impact on the project?
Well, okay, at large, the demand will increase. So when it comes to this point, then there is a market, and
Yes.
there is a kind of, you know, assurance that getting into venturing into investment, it will pay back. So immediately it will get a lot of people. This experience, especially, I mean, getting, you know, the foreign investment in projects, national projects on such level, was evident through the last 3-4 decades in Asia. Everybody have witnessed this. I was lucky actually to witness this in some Asian countries.
Would you share your experience with us, Mr. Mostafa?
Who?
Your experience, since you were part of that, or you were exposed to the Asian experience in developing village.
We have great experts in Egypt now. I could be just recalling things, but look, the youth now, how they are well educated, how they are well trained. Look at the seniors they are doing. I'm just like that. The only thing that I'm keen of witnessing and seeing Egypt, you know, in development. That's it. So,
And what would be the impact when it comes to sustainable development? What would be the impact of developing all these villages in Egypt?
Well, the success brings more success if procedures are kept. That's very important. I will give you the importance of this issue of how success is leading to success.
Yes, please.
For example, success sometimes is you know, minimizing the losses. That's the language of economy, you know. Sometimes this is a success, which increasing the efficiency in this case. I have seen that through, of course, I was reading and following about, you know, this project, talking about this project, and they say in certain areas that there's expertise, you know, the people of the Ministry of Housing and other ministries, that the infrastructure will be there and everything will be done, and then it goes this way according to schedule. And at the end, there will be, you know, road making, let's say the final course of road making. You know what? Out of experience, we know this as experience, we have seen it, that sometimes you have to break down and, you know, dig a good road because something should have happened, something should be done, and it was not done. That in itself an experience, Yeah, I'm giving you a
So
very
we're talking about planning here, or proper
exactly,
planning,
but always there was always planning, but this time it will be strictly
comprehensive planning, if you may
and
say.
strictly followed. That's the most important, the strictness, to follow and carry out everything, according to the rules, which is international rules and already approved.
What would be the role of the people in this project?
Well, hopefully, soon they will see that this is for them and by them. Simple as that. Well, sometimes talking is not everything, but you have to enlighten people. So we have to focus, media-wise and, on the ground, and the civil society and everybody, as the president have said, that this is, everybody should share in this. So sustainability will come when people, they think, they are sure that this is for them, and it was done by them. It is their money, it's their future, it's their generation to come, and so on. And we get to kind of, different outlook for the projects, concept of the project, especially big projects, mega projects. We need, and I think the media has an important role in this, honestly, in every aspect's way, in every way,
Yes.
how to address, how to talk, how to get people, how to show it actually on the TV.
What's going on and the progress
on the ground, yeah.
on the ground.
Yeah, okay.
So you're touching on a very important issue, the role of collaboration between all the parties involved. The government has a role to play, the private sector has a role to play, the civil society and the NGOs, they have a role to play, and the media has a role to play.
Yes.
So coordination between all
Yes.
those
Yes.
parties
Yes.
would actually add to the success, or make it a successful project.
Fantastic. Actually, when you were describing this, I was imagining this. I have this feeling, I have this image in my mind. This concerted effort and concerted work based on real knowledge, facts and figures, and capacity of everybody, every part or every sector of this community is capable of doing something. The image is clear, the objective is clear. So imagine if we get in this, it will be like a symphony in building a country, a symphony, real symphony, with maximum harmony. And if we get to this, then we can. Yes, I'm sure that we can.
Perhaps you mentioned also the role of the media, which is very important in this regard, and directing special campaigns for the people to focus on the importance of the project, and as you mentioned, what's going on the ground. But also the civil society has a very special role to play, because the civil society is already involved in the rural areas, very much in the social and economic problems of the people living in villages, in particularly. So they have hands-on, and they know the people. If they can talk to them on what could be their role, how can they cooperate to develop their own villages, I think that's a very important role too.
If we are talking about the civil societies at large, in the sense that central, and if they have their existence, their presence in rural areas, then they know more than anybody, or exactly like the people themselves of these areas,
Yes.
The citizens of this area. So in this case, if they will think positively and help positively, to help even to minimize the hassles in such a process, sometimes there are some disputes and such small things. If they will take it positively, this is their role, actually. This could be a very important role. And it's supposed to be like that,
Yes.
They are a civil society, they are NGOs, for example. You are talking NGOs in this case. The government is doing its part, so they must be, their role must be because it's in their goodness to help the government and to help the people.
Yes. The problem of illegal immigration, perhaps it's the one of the main problems facing Egypt. And so many Egyptians, they venture into illegal immigration looking for a better life. they mostly come from villages or poor villages.
That's right.
To what extent would that project of developing the Egyptian villages help in cutting down or minimizing and eventually eliminating the problem of illegal immigration?
Yeah. This issue actually, a lot of the international association, concerned, and also UN institutions concerned about the illegal immigration, they get to the point that, it's the expulsion motive or the expulsion force of people to leave their countries because the life there is unbearable when it comes to economy and, sustainability, life itself. And that's why the role, again, this will bring us to the most important role of the world, of the first world, that to help those who are keen about building their countries and helping them to abate and fight poverty, because it's the main reason behind immigration. And if there is a country like us, we are doing our best, to develop our people and to eliminate this issue. Here is the role of the international community. And I think we deserve this, and there is a lot of appreciation. I know, so I'm following up the international community when it comes to the World Bank or the IMF, and especially even in COVID, there was some, right now we have this. But for such mega projects, I hope we can make a good campaign on the ground. You can show so a lot of assistance, financial. It sometimes it's not financial. It could be just know-how.
Yes.
To help.
Yes.
That's the role. That's important role, by the way.
Yes.
But first we begin with ourselves. That's the most important thing.
Yes. Perhaps poverty is the root or is the main cause for the problems in Egypt, especially in poor Egyptian villages. And developing villages would actually eliminate poverty, and that would reflect on solving all the other problems. We mentioned illegal immigration, for example. There are some villages in Egypt that suffer from certain problems. For example, there is a village in Giza governorate called Manya al-Shiha, where it is famous or known because it's very poor. The problem of minor girls' marriage, for example, exists there. Other villages, these suffer from certain agricultural problems due to poverty, and they sell their lands. So upgrading or developing all these villages would actually reflect on solving so many poverty-related or economic-related problems. Yes. How do you see that?
It's what you said, exactly. The main cause of the misery of the human being, actually, first of all, is poverty, because if it is not poverty, there is a chance to develop, because sometimes it's not everything. Poverty is not everything, but mainly, it is the root of the misery of the people, anywhere, of the human being in general.
Yes.
Poverty in everything, but when it comes to subsistence, the life itself, the means of life, I mean, to be at the level of, poverty, how it was dominated. It's sometimes beyond imagination. How some people could live for $1 a day in some areas. This at least the international norms of evaluating or considering poverty. The most important thing is it's the domino effect, as I told you in the beginning. You fight the main cause as much as you can. Immediately it will reflect.
Yes.
This is facts. I mean, it doesn't need even a lot of it's fact. It's a fact. It's a fact. For example, let's have a simple example. Well, they say that overpopulation and this 2.5 and 2.75 growth rate in the population yearly, this is something actually we should be aware. We should be very, very aware of it, and even very disturbing, because at the end it will affect any real achievement on the ground when it comes to fighting or abating poverty.
Yes.
Imagine when you succeed, then you increase and develop the way of the people thinking of their life, how to keep it.
Yes.
And they would see the relation between having 3 or 4 or 5 kids where you can only afford for 1 or 2 kids by themselves. So they will take the decision by themselves. But anyway, there were some countries who were forcing how many you should have. And,
Yes, how many kids a family should have.
Yes, the most famous story is China,
Yes.
and it managed to have this 1 kid because without it, some Chinese, they say, before even the development and now the story of China's success, that if they cannot keep 1 child that time, they couldn't or wouldn't be able to reach what they were thinking that time. I'm talking 1990s. I mean, in the 90s,
30 years ago.
Thinking this way. I sat with people thinking this way, telling us frankly this way,
Yes, yes.
And it worked.
Yes.
Now they are allowing another child. You know what? The reflection or the effect is not that welcoming. People go to it. Anyway, you see, the only thing is that you do the right thing. You have your right fight. I mean, fight your right fight for the people, by the people.
Yes. Sir, also, since we mentioned villages as an example, so many villages in Egypt are productive villages, such as Kafr Haroun, such as El Harraniya, for example, in Giza, known for their beautiful carpets and rugs. So many villages in Egypt are focusing on certain industries, and they are very productive. How would that, if we generalize the experience, if we develop all the villages across the country and utilize the fact that we have productive villages so that we can make even the unproductive villages become also productive? How would that be?
That's very interesting. I think there was some discussion some years ago, and I was participating in it, about, the handicraft, and how to develop the local specific industries, which is always related to the resources and the situation.
In that particular area.
If you look at it, on this scale, I mean, because you are not talking about industry in the real sense of big industry, then you look at these communities where they have, for example, the marble and what they do with it, this artifacts, of ancient Egyptian artifacts, carpets, in what you say. So the importance of this, that you can have of this a brand, international brand, which happen even in some countries. There are some countries in Asia, I mean some areas in some countries
known
in
for
area.
glass, for ceramics, for carpets, for...
and even if it is on a small scale, but at least...
Still very famous.
Still, no, I mean, yes, of course, but you look at on the ground, what's there. Even if it's it is small scale, but at least you are sure that this small scale you can deduct it of unemployment.
Yes, productive, they are productive.
Plus, and make some revenue. So how to develop it, how to go through it, this is very, very challenging. And I think it's included also in this project, by the way, of this 15,000.
Definitely, since it's a comprehensive project, definitely. I'd like to thank you very much, Engineer Mostafa Wali, former General Manager of the Federation of Industries. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure always. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, a short break, and we'll be right back to resume this morning's edition of The Breakfast Show. Stay tuned.